Back this way. Settle right in front of the column right here. All right? Thank you.
Okay, we're happy to see you here.
Trying to get on there.
On the left, on the right leg.
On the right leg? All right.
What happened to you?
Also, we're having no power. We're running out of pots or something, because it says you have medication, right?
Yeah, we'll have to use the floor, I think.
All right, we'll use a little bit back. Okay, thank you, Brad. All right, can we, we're not going to roll her.
We're going to use
Oh,
this.
yeah, and then,
Walking, use the clothes bag, pad. Go.
hold on, there was another. Here.
You okay?
Yeah.
That should work. That's longer. Yeah. I'm gonna, you got this, I'm gonna go ahead and take care of that arm victim over there.
We're waiting for the X-ray still. Oh, this is that's an X-ray.
Kayla? Okay.
All right.
Yes.
You didn't look, it just says, all right, so, you know what? Yes, respiratory distress. Sure, do we have, we don't have the oxygen tank up here again. Can we get one up here? Up here, medium. We need an up.
You're around and, you know,
We
this
need
area.
an
So
up.
we're gonna look
Mask,
in on
everybody can respond to that.
Right here.
Saul, come in.
Good option for you.
Come in like this. I'm going to put tape in it. We're going to mark it. The time. The time is exactly 7 o'clock.
This man is
Where's the tape?
we're getting an oxygen tank for him immediately, okay? All right, gentlemen, let's place both over there for now until we get more room to see what's going on. Thank you very much.
You can set one up outside.
All right.
And lift this board up here. Come on, elevate it a little bit.
You got it. 1, 2, 3.
Very good.
Okay. All right. I got a respiratory distress oxygen tank is coming up for you. You want fracture? Got it already. We're taking care of that. That's yeah, I covered it up for now.
They sent me in here to help with
How's it bleeding? Did you check after your refill?
Yeah, everything's working. Everything's there's a pulse there and everything, so everything's good at the moment. So I didn't want to
We have an oxygen tank coming on its way.
Jordan is
Blood
right
underneath.
there.
See if there's a lot of blood. But chew carefully, okay. Now, don't you mind our blood, okay?
Okay, and then
So,
you can just let her know.
Stay
you're
there.
here, and then you can
You're gonna be
sit
fine.
out there.
Okay.
Transport you soon.
All right, this one's for victim second degree burns.
Is everyone conscious here or is there? Conscious, has the neck injury. Make room over here. Let's make some room for another victim coming in. We're gonna place her right over here.
All right,
We going.
hold on,
Right here.
Turn her around, and then, because I want to put her right, you know what? Put her over here. Put her over here.
We have room over here.
Yeah.
I made some room here.
All right, now we got room right over here for now. We're just gonna
Okay.
put her right over here.
Don't put anybody over here. Don't put anybody over here. Don't put anybody over here.
Do we have any more victims in there?
No, we have
Deceased, I think.
Just the deceased? All right, this is our last one? Okay. And missing body parts? Oh, okay. Hi, how's everything?
She's
She's unconscious? Oh, okay.
Here, I'm gonna make it easy for you here.
Still got a pulse.
What's that?
Hello, how are you?
You got a tank coming.
You hear me? You understand anything? All All right, she's unconscious, but her vitals, she has a pulse. Everything's good. I haven't checked her back or anything. I don't want to roll her over. She has
Any sign of blood in the ears, nose?
no blood in the ears or nose. I don't want to really move her. She's got like a towel head brace on, so.
I'll check her eyes for dilation. Response. Pupils are full, they're dilating. Okay. Pupil size are even. Okay, so we're just going to keep an eye on her, try and get oxygen on her.
Perfect, because the respiratory guys, they're also making sure to.
Any other injuries? Did we check for any other injuries?
Don't see anything.
Check capillary refill on.
Yeah.
It's got a nails painted, so you got to just check.
Check the skin right there, yeah.
What break you, man?
Here you go, buddy. I'll take that. You start to lose more breath, let me know. I'll call one.
Yes, that's great.
We have oxygen on the way, so it's going to make a big difference.
All right, here it comes.
Okay, we got the oxygen.
Yeah, we're not going to put it on him, just look like it. Take him. Yeah. Just going to hold this. Technically, both of these people are now on oxygen. Okay. You just see a capillary refill on your fingers. You got your nails painted, not this one. Okay. Okay, within 2. Okay, good.
She's got a close. I said it was close.
Okay, look at me up from one on the wall, trying to make a call. They live around the neighborhood here? Yes. Okay. We'll try and get in touch with them. Just leave me the number and I'll work on that. How about you? How are you feeling?
I mean, it hurts.
Yeah? All right. So that, we'll get through it, so everything will be all right. We just have to be patient and make the best of what we have right now, and hopefully we'll get it all pulled through, okay? Just keep calm and let us know if you need something.
Okay, and then the eye injury?
We have the amputation, leg amputation.
And then the.
I still got body parts.
Somehow
Did you find any extras? Did you find transport for an amputation?
All right, young man.
Transport the leg with it, right, which is this person here.
But there's 2 body parts still, 2 arms over there, but it's on the wire.
Right, so leave them there. That's fine.
The victim's
The victim's going to stay there. We're not going to move the victim. Okay. Fatality, yeah, we leave. We don't use up manpower. So you're delayed. You're going to be all right. We're not going to do a crazy rush because everything's going to be all right. You're me. We're going to get you help.
Okay, listen up everybody, we got 5 more minutes and then we're going to conclude the drill. So then everybody else will be back in the war room in 5 minutes with the victims. So get your victims unhooked and in good condition.
Take the stuff off then?
Yeah.
Okay, where's Gareth? Gareth, is he here yet? I do, yeah. Sorry. You got everybody out? Okay, let's hold it. Okay, everybody, that was great. You did a very good job. Okay. The most important thing happens now. Okay, so we're going to go around and we'll start asking questions where we went wrong, what we did right. So let's first start with Gareth. What was your feeling? What was your impression? Loud, so because we're going to have a big discussion.
For me, for my first time doing it, the hardest part was so many people shouting in different directions and just bombarding me with I didn't know which way to go, meaning that there was people communicating to me on the radio and in the room, and I was trying to keep both of those things, juggle both of those things together to get the information in and out as best I could. So that's what I found the hardest on my behalf, just making sure that information was relayed in the right way, not to be looking for 3 of one thing when we need 1, and just make sure you got the information correct and relay it back and forth. That's what I found.
So it was a little intimidating that way.
Oh, definitely, yeah.
Okay, that's probably very realistic. What would you say, Pete? That's pretty much what happens, chaos?
Okay.
I'm going to say one thing. The first time that you guys ever did an event like this, it was good. I'm gonna say it was good. Now, hot washes, meaning in other words, what we just did now, you started doing, yeah. In other words, you gotta learn from the experiences. And I think we all did. There was a lot of confusion, all right? What did I always teach you guys? When you go in, you do the greatest good for the greatest number, correct? Okay. When you do the greatest good for the greatest number, what do? You get your walking wounded out first before you do anything. Who is the greatest one in here tonight? Stand up. Really? You're doing all that? All right? The objective was to get her out. Get her out first. And secondly, I think animal rescue to get the dog out of the way. In other words, so the rescue was, in other words, God forbid, the dog would have been protecting you. It would have been all over for the rescuers. So the second thing was to get the dog out of the way. Now you do your rescue.
Right. I absolutely agree with him. I thought that the dog and you would be the first out. That's what I would have done as well, and then gotten her out because obviously she was very upsetting. Great job. I mean, that's what you were supposed to do.
Excellent job, she did.
Yeah. Great job.
Yeah.
But the thing is that your
Too many, the problem was, she was right in the back to get her out, so we would have delayed too much stuff getting other people out by bringing her all the way from the back through the debris field and through all the other patients.
Right, and the
So,
dog helped her calm down.
keep calm, so we want to leave the dog with her, so that's her companion.
I had a question about the electrical guy, the guy that was down in front of everybody else.
Right.
How did that affect you getting people around?
It made it very awkward, because it was right in the center of the room, and everybody had to walk around. We knew if we touched them on the way out, it was going to be a problem for any of us. One thing I will say, Gareth was great, because Gareth was right behind me. When I went in to assess the scene, he was getting me whatever I needed, backboards. We got the people transported out that were either unconscious, and the people that were with less airway breathings were more by the door where there was air coming in and stuff. But I was concerned with the people that were either unconscious and the amputees, with the possible major shock victims, especially with loss of blood and stuff like that. Penetrating injury, I was very concerned as a young child. I wanted to get her out as quick as possible. I think she was our first transport because she was the youngest and she was small and quick to get out. Then we worked up the field and got everybody out, and as we worked our way out, people up the far end of the field were the last people really we brought out.
Yeah, so you worked that way. In
Yeah.
other words, from the door first out. So where was Andrea? Were you the first out?
No, there was actually a small child behind me, so
He
they,
was great.
yeah, he was great, yeah.
What's his name?
Jordan.
Jordan.
Yeah.
Jordan? Oh, he was great.
Yeah.
What did you
Yeah,
do?
I was frustrated too, because that's the first thing I wanted to do was want to get Ellie out of there, you know, and I said, but I'm with the medical team, you know, and because it was so stressful for everybody, you know, that was in there, you know, that was suffering from injuries, and I felt that I should have run in there, even though I was on another team, just to get her out, so that we could get her calmed down. And so you might, you know, I don't know, in search and rescue was actually trying to get people who were injured, you know, which had to be their top priority. But I was kind of like able-bodied, and I had to hold myself back, you know, to keep from going in there just to get her out.
And also we needed a backboard as well for transport.
Yeah.
One of the things that I think-
Somebody,
Yeah.
if they're ambulatory, you know, I think we need to put something, you know, we have to have somebody who can get the people who can just walk out that may be freaking out and get them out of there.
It should be
Just like you.
priority.
Yeah, yeah,
Right.
exactly, because it was stressful for everybody, you know.
John?
One thing, what would be the real scenario? Those backboards wouldn't have made it through the tunnel and the way we got in. If you didn't have that back entrance in a real life scenario, what would have been? Would that have pushed all those victims to the wayside?
That would have been tough.
Right?
Secondly, when you put people on backboard, just as a reminder, I noticed that when we were taking the last party out, I thought the head was gonna fall off the backboard.
Oh.
Make sure the head is on the backboard and everything else down, move everything else down as far as the body parts. Because when you lifted her there, her head went back.
Terry, what
To
what
make
was
me
your-
lighter.
Terry, what was your feeling?
Pete, we had her in the shock position.
Okay.
Bye.
My feeling was,
Let's get one person.
I think they did a very good job.
I was very impressed with the work that everyone performed. And at the end, when I was unconscious, I was left there to die. So there I think somebody should have come there and see how I was, touch me, you know, see if I was unconscious, how I was feeling or something like that.
You were an amputee,
They
right?
just took care of my leg and left and disappeared.
No, he did put the time.
There was a tourniquet put on you, and
Yeah, but I mean, you want something, I'm not saying criticize, say constructive.
right.
Probably somebody should have come there and see after I'm unconscious lying there for a while, to see if I was breathing okay or
We
something
did leave the
like
dock,
that.
we did leave the dock where he actually saw you, he told us to place you by the collar. So on our
But they
yes, we
didn't,
would have thought he would have came back to
Take a
check
vital
you.
signs, you know.
Check me or see, you
Okay,
know.
let's stay with CERT before we get to medical. One of the things that I thought that you did very, very well is that you assessed the situation and you came back out. And I thought that was remarkable. You didn't go in there just hog wild to rescue people without coming back and assessing it. So I thought you did an excellent job on that. John, what was about the belay with him? Was that difficult?
It wasn't difficult. We ran out of rope. At one point, you'd run out of rope eventually. And then, so going in eventually, I could see it being very useful. But once you run out of rope, there's really no way you can hear or communicate with me, so.
Okay, Kevin? Anything?
I thought that everybody did really a fabulous job. You know, there's a lot of people here for the first time, you know?
I had I'm sorry.
Oh, go right ahead.
No, I had a question. When the medical team went in, or when Garrett went in to assess, how, in the dark with everything, how did he know that that guy was electrocuted? How can you assess?
So the BX connector, go ahead, Sid.
The wire was underneath.
There was a wire running across from the wall along and underneath them, so.
I see.
There was a flashing light on the end of there was a light flashing on the end of the wire, which is indicating it's sparking.
Well, that's good, because I was thinking, boy, you run right in to help him.
Now, let me bring up something, I don't know if anybody saw it. When you went into that tunnel, did anybody see anything?
Lights.
The electric and the gas.
The electric and the gas, go ahead, let's bring that, where's, who is on that? The electric and the gas. As you walked into the tunnel, almost everybody missed it. There was a gas cock.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Did you shut that off? Did anybody shut that off?
I did.
Did you?
Yeah, on the right side by the...
Exactly. Okay, that was important. I don't think that the first group that went in, and we did that purposely, to see if they would miss it.
Become victims.
Because the first thing was smell. Go ahead. Yeah, it was your baby. Go ahead. Gus.
Well, normally in a situation where you have an emergency situation, you have to evaluate every little detail, regardless of how significant it may be. So the electrical switch should have been turned off or smelt for gas, because any kind of spark can ignite the gas. So the gas had a valve near it, so it would have been proper to turn it off as you entered, prior to entering the tunnel. For safety is obviously.
Even if you don't smell them, you're supposed to turn them off.
Even if you don't smell, you're supposed to, just as a safety, you should turn it off.
Okay, and I think almost everybody missed it, except.
No, that's when I opened the door, I saw the, the
Okay,
notification.
but are you the only one that saw it?
No, I think no.
Oh, you saw it?
Yeah, a few guys behind me.
Okay, so that got turned off, and then the electricity got turned off after that, is that correct?
Yeah.
I would assume, I didn't see the gentleman, but.
Who turned that cock
No,
off?
I didn't physically, it was just we opened up the door and we pointed out that a gas cock was in the bottom on the right side, it was the clip and Carol switch was the silver box up there.
Let's go back and see if it's still turned on.
Okay, Julie, what was it like from your end?
Well, first of all, I've never been a part of anything like this, so it was incredibly overwhelming to see all of everything that was going on at once and to kind of just focus and, okay, get yourself centered. So definitely that was pretty tough for me, because I mean, I'm coming from a general practice where you have one emergency at a time. You don't have 5 or 10 typically. So, yeah, and like one of the things that I was thinking about too that's really important with dogs is that you can't always assess if your dog is nice. So, and if it's a nice doggy, if it's a painful doggy equals not nice doggy. So really being careful when you're transporting it out to, you know, if you can keep your, you know, at least if it's conscious, you can keep your hands and your face away from its mouth. That's one of the things that I was, you know, thinking while I was doing it. And I don't know how far you guys go as doing like CPR, like ABCs.
No, we don't do CPR.
Okay, you guys don't do anything like that.
CPR, once they're dead, they're dead. We move on. It's the best, most good for the most people.
Same thing, and I noticed there was an impalement injury, so it's same principle for dogs. Don't try to remove it, just, you know, do pressure bandaging. And if you suspect a fracture, which sometimes can be unfortunately can be very obvious, is you can actually use a rolled up newspaper to splint it, so if you do have access to that. Some of the things you want to assess, like right off the bat, are mucous membrane color, which is, you know, assuming the dog is, you know, laterally recumbent and it's not up walking around trying to bite you. You know, lift up its lips, see if the mucous membranes are pink. If they're cold, tacky, those are the things that could say that this guy's in shock. Feeling for pulses, your back. I don't know if our doggy is somewhere around here, but I can sort of show you guys what you'd want to
There
look
he is.
for.
Oh, look at this.
He's ready, ready for you.
Hi, handsome. You're a good man. You're a good man. So, you know, typically if you want to get a heart rate, it's right here. If you want an exact location, you'd probably lift their leg up a little bit further and kind of feel it in this area. You can get a heart rate. And you want to make sure if they're shocky, typically the heart rate is going to be very elevated. Typically. And so you can also check for a pulse too, which you'd probably want to use this. This is what he did to me before. So, there's a nice little, okay buddy, right on the inside leg, you can actually feel it. And so that would be a way that you can test to see if they had a pulse or not. And you know, typically if they're in shock, their limbs will feel cold. So you can definitely tell. Those are some easy and simple ways that you can do, things that you can do. What are some other things? Definitely if any kind of like injury that, you know, if there's like an impalement injury, if you see some type of laceration, bandaging is very important. And whatever they're, you know, if you find a dog, you come in, they're in lateral recumbency, try not to move them around too much. Whatever position they're comfortable in, keep them in. So don't try to move their head, don't move their neck, don't move their head, just whatever position they're in, keep them in. A lot of dogs will find themselves in lateral recumbency because that's comfortable for them in terms of their breathing. So,
A question about dogs, because a lot of scenarios could be chemical or biological. Is there any, especially with more so with chemical, how dogs are going to be reactive or poisoned?
Chemical?
Do they drool excessively?
Yeah, drooling excessively.
Watery eyes, stuff like that?
Yeah, typically I would say for most chemicals, drooling.
Okay.
If they've been like
And breathing,
acutely
probably
poisoning.
breathing, respiratory.
Yeah, one thing you do want to look for,
The same as a person there.
yeah, so there's a lot of times antifreeze is very toxic, and a lot of people use that to poison animals, unfortunately.
Right.
So if they're really sick, their breathing will be more like very shallow.
Yeah.
Okay,
So-
what was your assessment of this particular dog? Because I wanted to also get to the medical area.
Okay.
And what's your particular assessment of this dog handling the smoke and the drill and the noise and stuff?
The dogs in that kind of a scenario, they're very unpredictable because they don't know what's going on. Like I said, a dog that's typically a nice doggy, in where mommy or daddy is hurt and he doesn't know where, you know, he doesn't know whether you coming in is there to help mommy or daddy, or
Right.
you're, you
Yep,
know,
yep.
and that might take that kind of scenario might take a dog that's typically nice and make him sort of aggressive.
Exactly.
So you have to
And-
be very careful.
Exactly, and I think that was Sid's point too, because I think you felt that it was protecting, didn't know what was going on with Terry, so that the dog was a little antsy. This dog was specially selected because we knew the personality of the dog. One of the things that I assessed is that I was uncomfortable with is, where's the little guy over here? He was very close. Now, I knew the dog, but the dog was very close to this young,
He was worried about
to
it,
young
yeah.
kid. I was a little worried about, I knew the dog, but in a scenario, I think the next time we should have more separation. We were limited by the room. But the thing, in another type of area, I would suggest that we have more breathing space because we may have a dog that's not puccini.
Friendly, yeah.
So that would be a good thing that I think we learned that I learned out of this drill. So where are I wanted to get back to you in a second, but who were the other victims? Go ahead. I just wanted to hear from you what you felt.
Well, I wanted to make sure that the kid was obviously priority because I had a second-degree lower abdomen burn.
Loud. Go ahead.
Yeah. So I just wanted to make sure, but you know, one of the ladies came over. She made sure that I was okay. I know that Pete came over. Yeah. But no, I mean, I've done this before. I thought it was, went very well. And it went actually very smooth. But you're about the, going through the tide, that just dawned on me. Like, what if that was a real scenario? Like, how would, we have done that? Yeah. So that.
Okay.
Yeah.
We was gonna bring the first stretcher through the tunnel and then to go out through the door.
Loud, I can't hear you.
No, I said we made a move to go back through the tunnel, and then everybody said go through the door.
Right.
Like I said, I figured
the
we would
original
go.
plan was to go through the door. How did you feel? What was your injury?
I had a arm fracture.
A what?
An arm fracture.
Arm fracture.
Yeah.
Bleeding as well.
Okay.
Heavy bleeding with an arm fracture.
Okay, and I was wondering if you could fill me in a little bit more about the.
I think, as I say, there's no such thing as mistake, it's a lesson learned. One thing I realized that I did was probably, because for my EMS training, was dealing with the more critically injured when there was a lot of walking wounded that we could have cleared out, made more room for us to have more ease of access to the people that were severely injured, especially with the amputee. And so I felt that walking wounded, the psychological, that was great. Psychological injuries, the burn victim, we should have transported you, walked you out with somebody else. The arm fracture could have been walked out as well, so, we should have got them out. There was a situation though where the problem was the person in the center of the floor, having been electrocuted and still probably alive, where we would have had to have somebody, one of the rescuers, walk them out where they were busy bringing stretchers and stuff into us at that time. We were trying to get stretchers and backboards in to get the people out. But definitely, I realized next time, as leading the medical, I would have said, okay, get this person out of here now, or let this person walk this person out, or let one of the rescuers bring two people out at the same time, so we can get more room to work into place. And that's the main thing I found. Another thing would be supplies. With any emergency like that, how much you're going to have on hand to grab. We didn't have a lot of bandages and stuff. Really, all we were just doing was regular pressure bandages. We couldn't stay with the victims. We had to do a tourniquet in the amputee, in order the time of it. We elevated the legs, but then we moved on to people that had penetrating injury. Want to make sure that when we moved them, they were the first out. We want to put them on a backboard. We didn't want to put them in any kind of harness and move them around. We also had the patient guard, because in any kind of injury like that, the patient normally will guard the injury. So we had the patient actually hold the stick. It's safer that way, and we put a bandage around, then had her hold it. Then we transport her carefully on the backboard out, because carrying her around, there's going to be movement with that stick, but be careful not to, I didn't want the stick getting snagged on anything as we brought her out. So that was a very important injury that we wanted to get out, and plus she was young.
Okay, I think one of the things that we should also be conscious of next time if we do something like that is, did you decontaminate them after you moved them into the medical area? I think we spoke about it.
No, we didn't, because we didn't. I actually forgot about that.
Okay.
There was a decontamination area, or do you want to?
Yeah, I think since we don't know what caused the bomb blast,
Right.
and that they could have had chemicals in the bomb like
Chlorine.
chlorine or mustard gas, which could be used with explosives.
Right.
Then what we should have done on the outside is wash down the people before we got into the medical room. We
Right.
could have deconned out there.
Would you normally, just out of curiosity, would you normally bring people out that have severe injuries and basically decontaminate, run them through water before you even bring them in to treat them?
I would if, unless they were going through hypothermia, because it's gonna put you in danger. Touching them if they had chemical weapons on them. It wouldn't be a problem with sarin gas, but it would be, but wouldn't the explosives, neutralize the sarin gas, but not the mustard gas?
No. Sarin gas, that everybody tried it with the explosive device.
It's no good, but with, so sarin gas wouldn't have been a problem if there was, but it would have been a problem if it was mustard gas or chlorine, which could be used. So we should next time think about deconning.
Right. We'd have to, with decon, we'd have to make sure that it was a chemical attack or a chemical bomb.
Okay.
And then we'd have the signs, when we go in, we realize from some of the signs what it probably was. People are just down, they wet themselves and stuff like that, and then we realize there's not a lot of physical injury here, but a lot of people are unconscious, then it's a whole different scenario.
Okay.
What's the effect of mustard gas?
Well, mustard gas would have had a delayed reaction, and you would have had blisters, but it would have been 4 hours. See, sarin gas is immediate. Yeah, but mustard gas would have been 4 hours later, and we would have been touching it, we would have had a problem. So it would be good to decon. Pooh, what did you think? You're in the medical area.
Yeah, well, I kind of took over the role because I had the radio. You were telling me of all the patients that were coming in.
Yeah.
I think because we were so short-staffed, we had only three medical.
For 8 people.
You know, 3 people for all these incoming couches that are coming in. I actually started playing like a triage area and just started playing. Thank you, Julie. You play great help. Thank you. So I forgot your name. I'm sorry. Vassal. Thank you so very much. Also, I mean, under the pressure, I've done because of my work. I've done in different drills also, and you guys worked very well under pressure. You really did for what we had, for what the supplies that we had, and the area was so cramped that I just didn't know where to really place people sometimes. And maybe for next time, just if we can, maybe if we can communicate to see who's coming out so I can better be prepared rather than all of a sudden I've got the burn victim coming in and then I've got right behind it the leg amputation or however it was, and I was just overwhelmed by going, okay, we need to place this, we need to place that. I apologize to the victims if my bedside manners wasn't that great. We were so short-staffed, I was going from patient to patient, just checking them quickly. And I understand that, you know, bedside manners are a big thing, and especially to come back and check up. But no apologies or anything, but because we were short-staffed, I felt kind of a little bit overwhelmed to go ahead and say, with the supplies, and I was just creating stuff left and right with Peter. That's what we were doing. So the only thing I'd say was maybe if we had a bigger area to work with, and just with the guy who's out in the field, to the guy who's in the medical area, just to communicate, to say what's coming in, what should we be prepared for, so we can actually line them up and be prepared to say, okay, we've got a burn victim coming in, you've got the burn victim, I've got, you know, leg amputation come in, I need somebody to take over that. So we're mentally and physically prepared also.
So you were short-staffed and you felt that pressure?
Yeah, I mean, to be honest with you, I really felt the pressure, but I kept it cool, I kept it calm, I didn't like start losing my head or anything. That's my job. I'm not supposed to do that, that's what I live for.
Okay.
So, but that was the thing. I mean, if we can get more people, you know, next time, we got more people on the medical team, just to help out. And supplies also, Hank. Supplies were limited. Both me and Peter had to be creative. We really had to be creative with some stuff. Yeah. But for the medical team, I thank you so much, and everybody else here also.
Just one thing before I now go to you. Denny, how did that infrared camera work?
Perfect. Worked really, really well. You could really see everybody and everything.
Okay, so it worked well in the dark.
It was perfect.
I like to say that it was a small area, and whatever you did great, because you never know accident can happen like that in a small area with a lot of people. And I think this was a great opportunity, and you did wonderful.
Rosie, anything?
Yeah.
Hold on.
Yeah, it can happen. It can happen
First
because
of all, I want to congratulate you, Hank, and Gus, and Saul,
It was so beautifully put together, really. I think you did a great job. And I was very impressed with how everybody was really working together. I hear what all of you are saying, and I can understand that, but I think it was really remarkable and some of you I think are first timers as well, how well you worked together and got it done. So I just say.
Okay.
This was Wayne that put this together.
Yeah,
And
Wayne and Wayne. A little update on Wayne. I think he's doing better. Is that right, Denny? And what I wanted to say about the drill is we're gonna sort of end it here. Unless anybody has anything burning that they wanted to say. Margie, did you want to say anything at all?
Well, I will.
Stand up.
Thank you. My name is Margie Russell. I'm the Executive Director of NYARM. And I just wanted to remind you all that those of you who have taken and completed the CERT training have credit towards an accredited drill to manager certification. And if you've taken part in this drill or attended it, you now have more credit. So make sure people have signed in.
Yeah, I will. Okay.
And so I just wanted to.
All right, the other thing that I wanted to say is that I think the drill went well because the pressure was supposed to be felt. That's what's going to happen. Is that, correct me if I'm wrong, Pete, but I've been in a lot of some scenarios, real scenarios, and you feel overwhelmed. You feel short-staffed. You feel that pressure. I don't think we're going to ever do a drill where we shouldn't feel that pressure.
Right, yeah, I felt the pressure the minute I walked in the room.
I did too.
Me too. Yeah.
So I have a child with a mental disability, and I also have a baseball team with kids with mental disabilities, and I take autistic kids out surfing. And one of the reasons why I wanted to take this course is because I want to try to protect them if something happens. So what would you suggest if there was a kid in there that was autistic, that didn't speak, that had no language, and he was injured?
Okay, we're going to do on March 20th, on Wednesday, we're having some disabled people speak here on their injuries.
Physically or mentally?
Basically, it's a physical injury, and we'll have a doctor that does drills. So, but I think that's a good point, and I'd like to speak to you later about how we can incorporate that the mental aspect of it, the acute stress disorder, which we're going to have so much of during an incident.
Also, it could be very hard to tell whether it's not just somebody with a head injury that's got altered mental status. They could be talking gibberish or whatever. You don't know what the situation is. Regardless of any other injury, that would be one of the problems. You'd have to take. I would treat in this kind of a drill or a real drill, anybody with any kind of altered mental status, for lack of a better word, I would treat them as a head injury.
Right. But it's something we haven't addressed, and I'm glad you brought it up.
I mean, they would, like my son in particular, he's as big as me. He's 16 years old, but he would just freak out on you, and he would, punch.
We never addressed that issue, but we will. Yeah. Just one more thing,
I
Paul.
am also deaf, because I do sign language, so deaf people also can communicate. But is there anything that we could do as a team for Wayne or his family?
You could send them cards, I guess.
Well, no, I mean, does the family need cash or anything? Can we take a donation or? Huh?
I'll ask Wayne.
Yeah. Well, we'll be happy to do it.
Maybe someone can explain into the camera, because we're going to turn, at least the NYARM film, we're going to try to get it on YouTube in a couple of days, and that would be a good way to communicate to as many people as we can get that out to. So
Okay, so Denny, why don't you do that? You're his co-worker. Tell him what happened.
10 days ago, Wayne was, we were at work, he wasn't feeling well. He started getting very, very dizzy, nauseous, very massive headache. We had to sit him down, and it turned out, we had to get him an ambulance, and he had a blood clot in the brain. Well, actually 3, and he also had one in the lung. The one in the lung is dissolved. He's doing much better. He's up and about it now.
Oh, wow. Great. How long was it from the first signs till when you actually had to get an ambulance? This progressively got worse The headache being the last, was it?
Time-wise, it's hard to tell. I would guess about 10 minutes.
All that quick?
Well, he was very difficult. He didn't really want help. You know, he just wanted to sit
know
down and
Wayne,
let the
yeah.
headache go away.
By the way, for those who don't know Wayne, he's our chief of search and rescue. He's also have come here at no cost to us to do, sorry about that, let me shut it off. To do the women's self-defense. So he's come here lots of times to work with women on that, and and he has foster kids and adopted kids all his life that he's taken care of. So he's a very unusual, wonderful guy.
Well, I think you should tell him how well this went.
Yeah.
Because of what he did. I hate role playing. I just despise it. And during this whole drill, it was so real. We all just got caught up into it and did our thing. And the bottom line is we have a hell of a CERT team.
Question,
Yeah.
who's gonna see Wayne next?
I'll probably be singing tomorrow.
Okay, one thing we forgot to do, he wasn't present. Presidential citation for Wayne, let's give them all a hand for it.
I want to thank everybody for being here. Please remember to take your stuff back with you. And we'll get you those YouTube videos. Thanks to Margie. And just thanks a lot for everyone's help.
Just hang on, everybody.
Okay.
We still got one more to go for Hank. I don't remember.
Thank you.
How many of you in my last class, when we added 3 new modules to CERT? How many were in my Terrorism 101? I got a certificate for myself and Ray Kelly. All right. How many were not? On the ones that were in there, and the ones that were not, what's one of the things I always teach you guys?
Speak up.
No.
Ray Kelly
What's the
brought
one that I
that.
teach you? What was this scenario that you're all here now for?
Bomb blast. Bomb blast.
A bomb blast. All right? In 3 different sites tonight, something was left. And then one person questioned it. And one person questioned it.
Not one or one person?
Not one.
Not one.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry. All right.
You hear something? Could you get my phone out of there, please? Reach in and pull it out.
It's a bomb?
You're all dead. You think it's a joke? This is what they do. All right? Something this small, guess what?
You didn't see it.
Yeah, I gotta tell you, I saw it flashing over here before me, and I think
You
this
didn't-
could have been a bomb.
That was the key. There was a flasher. There was flashing. And nobody yet, remember, nobody questioned whose bag is that. It was inside, by the way. Also inside, set up, again, you guys weren't paying attention. There's a couple of these. All right? Nobody kicked it. If they would have tripped it, the pin would have came out, and whoever was nearby would have been dead. Boston, remember what happened in Boston? People, you gotta be aware. Anywhere you go, question it. You see something? It's been sitting there. It was also sitting inside. Question it. That'll get you dead. That'll get you dead.
It's a CERT bag.
Now,
It's a CERT bag.
that's right.
If you use anything,
I did see
And
it.
because it's a CERT bag, nobody questioned it. I'm gonna let you know, I left the,
I would have questioned it.
I give a course for the NYPD.
You can have it, probably, yeah.
And in the middle of a precinct with 100 officers and auxiliary police officers, I have my black bag. And halfway during the middle of the class, I stopped dead and goes, Christ, I lost my phone. Somebody dialed my phone. Phone dials, right in the middle of the class, same thing happened. The phone goes off. I go, oh, Jesus. So I told one of the cops, get my phone out of there. He reached in, did the same thing he did. He dropped it, he screamed, and he ran. You had to stop him at the door, otherwise they would have brought the whole world down. People, be
Yeah, I know,
careful. Second, One thing that wasn't said is everybody, can I have your helmet? Everybody going into a disaster area, you must have a helmet.
That's all shot.
Having a hat like this, guess what? You get yourself hurt or dead. You must have a helmet.
But the other one is look more comfortable.
I'll put an email out if anybody wants to buy backpacks with the helmets, we'll put it out. But everybody needs a helmet.
Okay,
51
thanks
Fifth
so
Avenue,
much.
right?
Thank you, Pete.
And come to the party with us too, but you have a good man.
Pleasure.
We,
I got
you can't wait a minute, I'll just give it to you right now. Yeah, I gotta get, just go inside and then,
Good to meet you too. Take care, okay?
put this away for anybody who's still.
I live in Brooklyn, but I work in Sarah.
Yeah, but it's my son.
See?
Actually, I've got one with me. I brought a bag. I know my boy Louis. You guys did a fantastic job.
What we're trying to do right now is to capture as much critical information for turning this into part of your training tapes. So whether people are going to be at home watching to review, okay? So anything that, a thought that you might have had that you didn't get out here, or a question that you might have. So for example, there was a question that was asked, which is if it was the real thing and the ceiling had fallen in, or trees were down, what's the protocol for the CERT team?
Well, the first thing that we have to do is assess the situation for our own safety. That's the primary issue. We don't want to become part of the problem and have more victims. So these guys both are trained to assess that, to say, hey, there's electrical wires, there's the building may come down on us. That's not going to be helpful to anybody. So it was to call out to try to get as many people out as possible to follow our voice without going in there ourselves. We don't want any more victims. So basically, we have to assess whether or not it's safe.
Could you just give it a little short thing on the different CERT teams in the city? How Battery Park City is the largest and why?
Okay, I think I'll give a shot at that.
Okay.
It started in 2003 as a result of a lot of people in Battery Park City getting together, people like Rosalie and Sid, and getting together and say, hey, during 9/11, there was no one around to help us. We had to help ourselves. People were jumping in the water. So a CERT team was organized. And we had a very good response, and we still do, because of where we live. We live in a high targeted area. We live near Wall Street, Goldman Sachs. So a lot of the resident managers want to come into the program. Specifically, our demographics got better, by meaning that it got younger. If you take a look at Gareth and you take a look at Pete, they're a lot younger than when we first started out. And these are a lot of the people that we want to recruit for search and rescue and for medical. The older people have value as well, but they're more in communications, and organizational skills.
Okay. So for someone that wants to volunteer, you don't have to live in the section,
Right.
the team section.
You don't have to live in the team section. We have about 1,000 resident managers that we've certified with FEMA. There are other CERT teams as well, and that's good for us because that spurs on competition.
Okay.
We think we're the largest and we're the best. We self-deploy, which other teams are not allowed to do. And our philosophy is the original CERT philosophy, which means that when the government can't come, when there are no communications, when that's down, then we go into action. When the government comes, that's what we pay our taxes for.
Right, and that's the beauty of recruiting the resident managers, because they are there. They're already, work is where.
We're on call 24/7.
Right, exactly, right. So the
It's the nature of
mindset,
our
right,
job.
exactly, right.
And they know their buildings.
Yeah.
Right.
They know how to evacuate. They know where their equipment is.
We know all the shortcuts through the building to get different areas, ways out.
Gas, electric.
All the shut-offs.
Yeah, and it's the true meeting of mechanical and people aspect. 'Cause there was someone had said the other day, what's the difference between a scientist and a doctor? And the difference is the doctor deals with people using the tools of science. So, it's not just the fact that you have the mechanical ability, but you're also, your whole mindset is on dealing with people.
Yeah,
so it's
right.
a combination of the two.
Yeah, and I think your point is well taken. When we train people in the course that we do, 3-4 weeks later, it's gone unless you physically get down on your hands and knees and go in and use ropes and use masks.
Yeah. Nothing beats hands-on.
Hands-on.
It's all
Is that
about
what,
hands-on.
basically?
Yeah, definitely.
Right, and building service is a hands-on job.
Absolutely.
Right. And so just for our industry, the building management industry, the CERT training is really critical to just running a better building. So, putting the whole need for CERT aside, that training goes to the core of everything you need to have compassion or empathy for the people in your building. And
It gives you a lot of knowledge to deal with situations as they might arise in your building, whether it be fire, shareholder injury, a fall, something like that.
right, you're totally prepared. It's like
You have the knowledge to make the right moves.
Right. And this drill demonstrates, and I think all drills do, the pressure. Is that what you'd say?
I'd say there's a lot of pressure. I felt like I was thrown under the bus a little bit. I wasn't really given much information before I came here tonight, and that did help to add to the pressure to make it more real on the night of not knowing what was going to happen, the scenario, the way it play out. So it did make it more real. Like inside in that room tonight, it felt like a real situation.
How did you feel?
Under pressure.
Okay, now hold that thought.
like the
Just
song.
think, just think of a staff member who you put into a situation with very little information, with no upfront what's happening, with no what could happen in the back, and just know how that employee, so this is another whole different topic here, but just know how that feels. So you don't ever put an employee in that situation, whether it's a new person you're training at the door or setting him up to, fix the sink. Just think that pressure, how the performance just goes.
And the drills habituate us to the pressure.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's why it's so important, is to feel that pressure, to become continually habituated to more and more pressure. When that happens, when the real thing takes place, at least you have a frame of reference that you've been through some of it before. And the military does the same thing. They put guys into scenarios that they feel are a lot of pressure.
I also feel we work our staff up the ladder. We wouldn't put a guy that's only there a couple of days straight on the front door and say, you're running the building.
You wouldn't.
Well, we know better.
Well, no, but some people do, or some
Right.
people try to manage through pressure.
Right.
Okay? So just know what it feels like for another person. And but I think we have to thank a couple of the resident manager organizations who gave fuel to.
Absolutely.
So if you want to list them off,
The Hibernian,
right?
the Emerald Guild, and Scandinavian. Those are the ones I dealt with.
Yes, and also a lot of the management companies. Douglas Elliman's been great. First Service has been great. ACAM's been great. You have so many management companies that are encouraging their people to take these courses. Also, board presidents and people on the board, residents, could take these courses as well. There's nothing like the resident managers because they're critical to the functioning of an evacuation event, of running a building, but other people as well. But those companies have been great. But basically, I would say it's the individual resident managers that have stepped up to the plate, that have been so great.
No, truly. And then we have to thank 32BJ for getting on and
Yes.
doing their part.
And I'd also like to thank Wayne Loweth, who wrote this drill, who couldn't be here tonight because of a terrible accident.
And NYARM has also been involved, so
Okay, well,
thank you, Margie, too.
thank you, okay, well then we'll wrap it up on that note, so, thank you. Did
Okay,
anyone
thank
else, Michael, did you have a comment? We're good? Okay, all right. Well,
good, thank you.
terrific, very good.